Yo, what is up guys? It's Your Name and today's video is going to be intense. We're diving deep into the lives of 10 teenagers who committed terrible crimes and their reactions when the judge dropped the hammer life in prison. We're talking about the raw emotion, the shock, the despair. It's a side of the justice system you don't often see, so buckle up, hit that subscribe button and let's get right into it. Our first case takes us to a quiet town in Texas. We meet Jason, a popular athlete, head over heels for his girlfriend Sarah. But their love story takes a dark turn when Sarah's parents try to break them up. Jason, blinded by love and rage, takes matters into his own hands. He breaks into Sarah's house one night, intending to threaten her parents into accepting their relationship. But things escalate quickly, a struggle ensues, and in a moment of panic, Jason shoots and kills both of Sarah's parents. The courtroom was silent as the sentence was read: life in prison. Jason's face contorted in disbelief, his eyes wide with terror. He slumped to the ground, his cries of anguish echoing through the courtroom, a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of his actions. Next, we travel to the tough streets of Los Angeles, where 16-year-old Maria found herself caught in the crosshairs of gang violence. Desperate for acceptance and belonging, she agreed to participate in what she thought was a harmless initiation ritual for a local gang, but the task turned out to be anything but harmless. Maria was ordered to drive a stolen car across town, unaware that the trunk contained a cache of illegal weapons. During a routine traffic stop, the police made the discovery. Maria was arrested and charged with possession of illegal firearms and conspiracy. Despite her pleas of innocence and her lawyer's arguments for leniency, the judge, citing the need to send a message, sentenced Maria to life in prison. The weight of her situation crashed down on her. Tears streamed down her face as she was led away in handcuffs, the reality of a life stolen hitting her with the force of a freight train. Our third case brings us the tragic story of Kevin, an all-American boy from a small town in Ohio. Kevin was your average teenager, juggling school, sports, and a part-time job. But his life took a devastating turn when his mother was diagnosed with cancer. Unable to afford the expensive treatment, Kevin found himself desperate to help. One day, a friend offered him a way to make some quick cash delivering packages. Kevin, naive and blinded by his desire to help his mother, agreed. He had no idea that the packages contained heroin, and he was soon caught in a sting operation. Despite his pleas of ignorance, the judge, bound by mandatory minimum sentencing laws, handed down a life sentence. Kevin's face crumpled in despair as his world came crashing down around him. The injustice of it all, the thought of spending the rest of his life behind bars for a crime he never intended to commit, was too much to bear. Chapter 4, Teenager Number 4. The Cyberbully. Moving on, we explore the dark side of the digital age with the case of Emily, a seemingly ordinary teenager from the suburbs of Chicago. Hidden behind the anonymity of the internet, Emily tormented her classmates with relentless cyberbullying. She created fake profiles, spread vicious rumors, and even posted embarrassing photos online, pushing her victims to the brink. One of her victims, a shy and sensitive girl named Jessica, couldn't bear the constant harassment and took her own life. Emily was eventually caught and charged with cyberbullying and manslaughter. During her trial, the prosecution presented a mountain of evidence, painting a chilling picture of Emily's cruelty. The judge, moved by the devastating impact of Emily's actions, sentenced her to life in prison, a stark reminder that actions in the virtual world can have very real and tragic consequences. Chapter 5. Teenager Number 5. The Wrong Place, Wrong Time. Our next story takes us to the bustling streets of New York City, where 17-year-old David's life changed forever in a matter of seconds. David was just an average kid, trying to navigate the challenges of growing up in a rough neighborhood. One fateful evening, while walking home from his part-time job, he found himself caught in the middle of a gang shootout. Bullets flew through the air, and before he could react, David was hit, collapsing to the ground. What he didn't know was that a young woman, an innocent bystander, had also been caught in the crossfire and tragically lost her life. Despite his injuries and his pleas of innocence, David was arrested and charged with murder under the felony murder rule, which holds accomplices liable for murders committed during the commission of a felony. The courtroom was filled with tension as the verdict was read: guilty. David's eyes widened in disbelief, his body trembling as the reality of the situation sunk in. life in prison, for a crime he didn't commit. Chapter 6. Teenager number 6, The Stolen Future. This time we meet 16-year-old Chloe, a talented artist from a broken home in rural Montana. Chloe had always struggled to fit in, finding solace in her art and her dreams of escaping her small town. One night, desperate for a taste of freedom and fueled by alcohol, Chloe stole a car. She never intended to hurt anyone, but her joyride took a tragic turn when she lost control of the vehicle, crashing into a tree. Chloe survived, but her passenger, her best friend, was killed instantly. The weight of her friend's death and the guilt of her actions crushed Chloe. She confessed to everything, pleading guilty to vehicular manslaughter. The courtroom was filled with the sound of Chloe's sobs as the judge, acknowledging the tragedy of the situation but bound by the law, sentenced her to life in prison. Her dreams, her future, everything she had ever hoped for, gone in an instant. Our next case takes us to the world of high-stakes drug trafficking with the story of Miguel, a young man from the streets of Miami. Growing up in poverty, Miguel was drawn into the allure of easy money and the dangerous world of drug dealing. He quickly rose through the ranks, becoming a trusted lieutenant in a powerful cartel, but his loyalty was put to the ultimate test when a drug deal went wrong. A rival gang ambushed Miguel and his crew, resulting in a shootout that left several people dead. Miguel, though he didn't fire a single shot, was arrested and charged with murder under the felony murder rule. Despite his lawyer's best efforts to argue that Miguel was merely a pawn in a much larger game, the jury found him guilty. As the judge read out the sentence, life in prison, Miguel's face hardened, a mask of defiance hiding the fear and despair that raged within. Chapter 8, Teenager number 8, The Influencer's Downfall. In a world obsessed with online fame, our next case highlights the dark side of social media stardom. Meet Jake, a charismatic and popular influencer with millions of followers. Jake had it all: fame, fortune, and adoration. But behind the carefully curated online persona, Jake harbored a dark secret, a gambling addiction that spiraled out of control. Desperate for cash to cover his mounting debts, Jake devised a plan to fake his own kidnapping, hoping to extort a hefty ransom from his wealthy followers. But his plan backfired spectacularly. The authorities quickly saw through his charade, and Jake was arrested and charged with fraud and extortion. The courtroom was packed with reporters and former fans, eager to witness the downfall of the once-beloved influencer. The judge, citing the need to deter others from exploiting their online platforms for criminal gain, sentenced Jake to life in prison, a stark reminder that the pursuit of fame and fortune can come at a steep price. Chapter 9. Teenager number 9. The Weight of Silence. Our penultimate case explores the complex dynamics of family loyalty and the devastating consequences of silence. We meet Sophia, a bright and promising student from a tight-knit community in Boston. Sophia's world was turned upside down when she witnessed her older brother commit a horrific crime. Torn between her love for her family and her sense of right and wrong, Sophia chose to remain silent, protecting her brother at all costs. But her silence came at a heavy price. The guilt and fear consumed her, haunting her every waking moment. When the authorities finally closed in, Sophia's web of lies unraveled, and she was charged with obstruction of justice and accessory to murder. The courtroom was filled with tension as Sophia, racked with guilt and remorse, finally broke her silence, confessing everything. The judge, acknowledging the difficult position Sophia was in, but emphasizing the importance of upholding the law, sentenced her to life in prison, a stark reminder that even silence can have grave consequences. Chapter 10. Teenager number 10. The System Failed. Our final case is a chilling reminder that the justice system isn't perfect and sometimes, innocent people fall through the cracks. We meet Anthony, a young man from a disadvantaged neighborhood in Detroit, wrongly accused of a crime he didn't commit. Anthony's story is a tragic example of how racial bias, inadequate legal representation, and a flawed system can conspire to rob an innocent person of their freedom. Despite a lack of evidence and numerous inconsistencies in the prosecution's case, Anthony was convicted by a jury influenced by unconscious bias and sentenced to life in prison. The courtroom erupted in chaos as the verdict was read, Anthony's cries of innocence drowned out by the gasps and murmurs of disbelief. Anthony's case serves as a stark reminder of the urgent need for criminal justice reform and the importance of fighting for the rights of those who have been wrongfully convicted. Every choice has consequences. These stories, as difficult as they are to hear, serve as a powerful reminder that every choice we make has consequences. For these 10 teenagers, their actions, driven by love, desperation, anger, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time, led them down a path that forever altered their lives and the lives of others. It's a stark reminder of the fragility of freedom and the importance of making responsible choices. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more eye-opening and thought-provoking content.